The Super Smokers Barbecue team cooked in its first sanctioned event, a Memphis in May event, back in 1986. Been cooking all these years, and with me to co-found that barbecue team is my college roommate, Skip Steele. We've cooked a lot of different things over the years, and one of the things we've won a lot of awards with are our ribs.
It's the largest loin back rib on the market today. That's a 2.5 pounder, and that's what we use because it has a good marbling of meat. And also you can cook it a little slower and a little longer.
One of the first things we do, now this particular slab, because the ones we buy are already skinned, but if you're going to cook in a rib competition, you're going to have to take the membrane off the back.
Well, the easiest way to do it is take a flathead screwdriver, and what you do is you insert the screwdriver right underneath the edge of the bone. You reach in there with your fingers, and you just actually peel it off.
Once you know that you have the slab of ribs trimmed up the way you want it, it's looking good, then you apply your dry rub. The basic concept of a rub is very simple. Spices have resins in them, like little oils. And you take different spices and blend them together, apply them to a piece of meat. The resins in the spices combine with the juices in the meat. As the meat and the juices in those meat heat up, the two marry. The two become one, and that's how you get your flavoring out of a dry rub. I'm going to have Skip show you the exact application. There's a certain amount. You can't really measure it out how you do it. You know, if you ask me, is it a tablespoon? Is it a teaspoon? We don't really do it that way. It's more by look. You can tell by this look right here that this is what we're looking for.
We just want a good even coat on it.
Not over, not too much, and definitely not too little. If you don't get enough on there, then the spices aren't going to penetrate the flavor. The rib isn't going to pick up the flavor from the spices.
Well, I want the dry rub every place that there's meat. That way it's going to have the same flavor any place you bite it.
Sprinkling a little on the back, because remember, this rib's been skinned.
A super smoker's secret: don't rub the rub.
Now that's a key thing to remember. Don't rub it around. On a competition type of meat, on a slab of ribs like this, just leave it like that, the way he sprinkled it on there. Now, on some other types of meats, you might really rub it in. Maybe if you're doing a pork shoulder or something like that, you may really be trying to rub it in. Or on a hog, you might be trying to rub it in. But on this particular slab of ribs, we don't want that effect. What are you trying to do, Skip?
Well, what you're trying to do is you're trying to paint a canvas. You want this product to look exactly like you want it right now, that when it comes out of the smoker, it looks identical to it.
Our last thing we're going to do to the ribs before we put them on the smoker is we're going to seal them, almost like putting an extra coat on the ribs. And what are we doing here, Skip?
Well, we're taking some just light brown sugar, and we're actually just going to pile it on the rib, and we're going to let it sit here until the moisture starts drawing out of it, and it'll actually go back to a molasses base.
The brown sugar is going to start to liquefy, and it's going to melt down on top of the ribs. When it does that, it's going to put a sheen over the dry rub and keep those nice spices and that great dry rub right on top of the meat, and it's going to help hold it in there so that when it starts cooking, it's going to draw down right down into the meat, right into the bones of those ribs. And one of the things we like to do is just take a light dusting of the rub and put it back on top of the brown sugar, just as an insurance barrier.
With the cooker settled at 250 degrees.
Just like that, my man. There she goes. We won't see that slab of ribs again for about another 60 minutes.
Terry Black offers some advice for those starting out.
From day one, we've been tweaking this particular piece of the puzzle, and I simply call it the list. Your game plan. When you go into an event, you sit down several days in advance and you plan out everything you need, and you have it on a list. And you start out with the list, just everything that pops into your head. Then you go in and you rework the list and you do it in chronological order and you go, okay, well, this comes first, this comes second, this comes third, this comes 102nd, all the way down. If you will work from a list, you'll be more efficient. After our ribs have been on the rotisserie smoker for about an hour, it's time to put a mop on them. We have our favorite marinade that we mop our ribs with. You ought to have your own. If you're into competition cooking, here we go. Skip's going to show you how to mop. These ribs are going to cook for 4 hours, so we're going to mop them at least 4 times, once every hour. I guess our true flavor statement is applewood, because we just don't over smoke anything. We like to put smoke on meat. You have to be careful when you cook with hickory, because you can easily over smoke and it will give you a pretty harsh aftertaste, or a long-lasting aftertaste that'll stay with you for a while. Fruit woods such as apple, cherry, peach won't give you a long-lasting aftertaste. You just have to be careful in their application. Cherry in particular will, if you overuse cherry wood, it will make your meat really dark. And some of the best barbecue I've ever tasted was smoked over pecan wood, but it's available regionally only.
Black says a single ingredient can make all the difference in barbecue, replacing grape jelly with apple jelly turned one oddball sauce into Super Smoker's championship sauce. Black says there's art in creating flavors.
Our flavor statement is layering. The dry rub, the wood, all the way to the sauce. With apple wood, apple jelly and apple cider vinegar being a part of the sauce, everything being layered. We don't like for any one ingredient to overwhelm. We like for you to be able to pick up multiple flavors through the layering process, but we really don't want you to pick up a piece of meat, bite into it and go, ooh, all I taste is the apple wood, or ooh, all I taste is the rub. We want you to be able to work all facets of your taste buds, all facets of your palate.